Yeah, Homer led the league in tackles with 85. The deep ball for Darius Prince, and Philadelphia's on the board first.
On the draw, this is Bryson Allen. And Allen weaving his way all the way down to the 22.
10-yard line, 5. Mayfield, dancing all around. Throw it as far as he can throw it. Jump ball coming. Crazy stuff. Not this time.
And you want to be a wide receiver. You're going to have to take a little bit of a hit like that as Brown got him in that shoulder, but watch. Those are teeth.
Do we have a dentist on staff here?
Welcome to the Shady Sports Network. We have a great show with a great guest this afternoon. Co-hosting today's show with me is Michael Washington and Sam Just. Guys, welcome to the show.
Super excited to be here.
And now, joining us this afternoon, the commissioner of the Arena Football League, Lee Hutton. Lee, welcome to the show.
I'm so excited. Thank you guys for having me. And I will start off this. You guys have done such a great job. This is an honor for me to be here. And I think if it wasn't for you guys, and then you got to throw Tim and everyone else, when the AFL was at what I call a hiatus, a hibernation, it was you that kind of kept the brand equity and the conversations going to allow us to come back. So big thanks to you guys.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah. As the commissioner, what is your vision for the AFL, and how do you see the league evolving over the next 5 years?
Oh, great question. I can tell you, I probably go to sleep with that question and wake up with that question. And one of the things that Travell and I do, and I have to give a lot of thanks to Travell. This is really kind of a two-headed beast. He's the guy that wakes up really early, and I'm the guy that never sleeps. And so we're covering 24 hours all the time. And the one thing that we said about this league, we have to be a bamboo, bend but don't break. We have to be flexible as times change. As we remember when the NFL first started, it was you had to secure those large stadiums. And if you didn't get 85% of capacity, you weren't on TV. Well, that's not an issue no more. You're on TV all the time, and everybody's looking for content. And now we got into an age just recently where you gotta do more than just play football. You have to entertain. You have to be Instagrammable. You have to do what you guys are doing and really just give 24-hour information. So in the next 5 years, what we want to do is we're starting with 16 teams, as you guys know, and we have a couple more teams waiting for 2025. And so we strategically want to grow in the right areas and right locations that would sustain the AFL, not just for 5 years, but for 10, 30, and beyond. So that's the first objective, to grow. The second objective that we want to grow, I look at this, and I'm the world is your oyster type of thinking. Travell is, okay, the numbers guy, and let's see if we can pay for the oyster. But what I'm thinking is we got to merge technology. We got to merge the real estate play if we're really going to grow and own this. And I'll tell you what that means. With technology, and now that you probably have heard our connection with USA Football and kind of what the Arena Football League is going to do with the Olympics. Through that type of connection, our technology is now going to be able to put us in the living rooms and homes of people really all over the world. We're going to be broadcasting our games internationally on a very consistent basis. And so growing that fan base in a digital area where they can buy merch, they can watch our games no matter where they are. I want to do that. I told my team I want to be the first professional league in the United States to actually broadcast our games on virtual reality. So think of San Francisco Oculus that you can wear. You can go to any stadium. You can say, I want to sit in the commissioner's suite. Now, of course, you may have to pay a little bit more for that package, but really get an experience that may not be at everybody's fingertips. It's just interesting. I got a call from a random fan of the AFL who said, I really want to be able to hear the play before it's being played on the game because he was sight impaired. And I'm thinking, said, how can we make this person who can't really see but needs to enjoy the game just like with people with all our sites available? And so we're thinking about what we can do for even him. And I don't think any fan is too big or too small for us to adapt for this entertainment experience. And so when you look at virtual reality, you look at some people have different incomes, being able to go to a cool arena and you can't necessarily afford it. If we can provide that through technology, I think it's available for our fingertips. And then the real estate play comes in within the next 5 years. I would love for the AFL to be able to own our own arenas, which means that we can control ticket prices, which means that we can do a fan experience throughout the year, whether that be taste of the AFL, whether it be concerts for the AFL, whether that be just some other fan engagements. And if it's our arena, we don't have to worry about dates being conflicted with other professional programs. Then I think when we're able to accomplish that, we're in a situation where arguably, NFL has the number one spot in professional sports as far as viewership. That second, third, fourth, and fifth place, it's a race, whether it's basketball, whether it's other type of sports. I think if we do this right, and of course we can't do it without fans, but if we do it right, I think we can sustain a top 5 position for 30 years, and then for the next 30 years, for 60 years, next 30 years. So we have this 3-6-9 kind of plan. And that's what I want to be in the next 5 years, is that no matter what age you are, no matter what gender you are, no matter where you come from, is that you're looking forward for our April to July season. And it kind of gives your appetite. And it was kind of through a discussion with me and Travell very strategically that we wanted to fit in that area. And we've all been there because we're sports enthusiasts, right? That as soon as Mr. Irrelevant walks across that stage, that's the worst day of our lives, right? Because nothing is on in the weekends, which means we have to clean the garage, which means we have to do other tours because we don't have the excuse to watch live football action. Now, of course, other leagues like the XFL and USFL have come in to satisfy our appetite. My response to is football saturate? I said, oh no, that's outdoor football. Like Terrell says, that's the big turf. What I want to do is make sure that we are at the pinnacle and the promontory of indoor football, and we're going to be the best doing it. So that's our kind of 5-year plan.
Nice.
Yeah. Commissioner, thank you again for joining us. We appreciate you taking time out and being here. And I can tell you I'm excited about this. You answered one of my questions partly with the sustainability of the league or what you envision for that. So I'm going to kind of shift a little bit. When we interviewed Travell, he said that he doesn't envision ever going more than 24 teams, or that's the early synopsis or whatever. Do you have any intention of maybe looking at that down the road if your 5-year plan is implemented the way that you want it to be implemented, or is it maybe something that could be boosted up sooner? What's the ideology behind that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And Travell and I have talked, and I can tell you, if people who know me and Travell, he's my brother, we have very heated discussions on a daily basis in the morning about the AFL. And then we put our hands together and break and accomplish our goals. So we had many talks of whether or not we're going to grow to 32, whether or not we're going to stay at 16. And then after looking at the numbers, then it came down to really sustainable market. markets. And so we landed on the number 24. What I believe, even if we're able to implement the real estate and the technology the way we want to, and really have these assets that the league has behind them that we can collateralize, that can be a benefit, that can basically make our company EBITDA attractive for people looking, accountants looking at the X's and O's of running a business, I think we're still going to be around that 24. Now, if there's some expansion opportunities, where I see those opportunities being is really maybe outside the U.S. border. We already been asked to kind of cross into Mexico. Some of our teams have been asked to do some exhibition in there. I really think the football, when it lands in the Olympics, is going to be kind of a world play. I'm blessed to have married to a foreigner, and so their outlook initially on the game of outdoor football is that it's too slow, or there's this comparison with soccer, which arguably is the number one sport when you look worldly. However, when foreigners, in my opinion, in my experience, look at indoor football and look at arena football, their minds blown because they love the action. This is a different sport. This is the type of pigskin type play that is more familiar to, just guys running around on the soccer field. And so, you're talking to a guy who lived in Germany and often traveled across the country and talked to a lot of these people. So I really think once we reach the 24, we may be looking to our Olympic partners worldwide to see if we can grow the game. Now, you'll always know that I think big. I would love it one day, and I don't think this is going to be anytime soon because we got a lot of work what we have to do here. But one day, if we're playing indoor football, arena football, tagged with AFL every 2 years, similar to a World Cup across the world in this type of style of play, I think I would be sitting in heaven. That would be just a great manufactured feat for the AFL to really get world brand equity. I call it world dominance. Travell tells me to kind of calm my words down a little bit, but that world brand equity would be amazing to do that. So.
I just have a quick follow-up to a little bit of that. I mean, first of all, international kind of makes sense with the popularity, obviously, with the NFL over there, and obviously the ELF is growing every year as well. You mentioned in the first question that you want you're envisioning hopefully to be able to own your own arenas at some point in time, so you don't have to tie down dates so early, etc. Is that something that the league is going to leave up to owners, or is that something the league is going to help owners with and make it sort of like, a league umbrella to own those arenas when you get to that point?
It's a little bit of both. Certainly, our position is that we want to be a resource to our owners first, and we want our owners to maximize the value of their investment. And quite frankly, this hard work, as you guys know, there's so much work behind the scenes. This is just not, playing football. There's operations, there's waking up 6 o'clock, there's mouths to feed. There's making sure that if there are any mistakes, nobody is able to see them, right? You may have scored the touchdown, but the wide receiver ran the wrong play, but nobody knows because it was successful. So we want our owners, if they are interested in the capacity to, number one, have that opportunity, because this is when, you have to get the community support, you have to get permits, you have to get that opportunity. But I do see some of these arenas being owned at the league level. And it may be where, this is where we do our championships, our divisions, but also, with our connection with USA Football is where we have other opportunities for flag football internationally and nationally. So we have a venue that can be used constantly. I certainly want to make sure that when people kids are in high school, they certainly are familiar with outdoor football, but there's no reason that indoor football couldn't be within their arsenal of just kind of everyday play. I think it's easier to kind of get 8 people on the field than 11 people on the field if you're doing a pickup game. So it will be a little bit of both. I had the opportunity to represent as an attorney an amazing organization that would build up the pop-up venues for the NFL concerts. And so amazingly, this organization would, Houston, if you remember, when they had the concert venue where they had Bruno Mars and I think Taylor Swift and these big names, my client would build the 65,000 seat arenas like 2 or 3 months before the Super Bowl, keep it 4 months after that. They would make a lot of money. The NFL fans loved it. And so we have already started discussions and engaged with that particular company to look at certain areas. And, you know, it's a play. You have to find the land. You have to find the right area. And quite frankly, we've had 2 owners that are very serious about moving to that area because one particular area, there's a lack of arenas where we want to have that team.
100%. I think I have an idea.
Just saying.
Yes. Well, if we can, you know, we're acting, you know, it was very possible that we may have pulled this real estate play even this year, and it's still a possibility. But at the same time, and here's what's fun of it, you know, when Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys started their arena, you know, nobody ever thought of putting nightclubs in there. Nobody ever thought of putting a swimming pool like the Jaguars had. And even when I was being told, I said, you know what, it's never going to be used. Well, I was wrong. And so now when we start looking at what we can do to make the fan experience really nice for people coming in and being able to kind of keep the cost affordable, you know, just think about it. If you had an opportunity, you know, we all come in different taste. You know, people don't like the same music. People like different type of action. But if you can go to, I come from Texas, and you know, and yes, I love country. You know, it's kind of where I am, but I also have another eclectic palate. If I wanted to go somewhere before the game and have a beer and a burger, and I can do it at kind of a sports bar, and it's right there at the arena, and I can get there early, I can do that. I can have a tailgating experience. I can do that. If I want to go dance and spend some time with my wife and salsa dance, I may be able to get that right there at the same place. So we're just kind of really just vomiting a lot of ideas and then cleaning it up into a fan-focused arrangement of entertainment.
Interesting. A lot of points to take from everything you just said. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to start with a tough question. So feel free to hate me after this. I hope you don't, though.
Not at all.
Well, my first question, I mean, obviously a lot of people have raised a question about funding for some of these teams that have come into the league. Obviously, we've got a couple owners in the league that were previously semi-professional owners, or some previous owners that were in lower level arena leagues that didn't necessarily pay as much. What is the league doing to making sure these teams find success in 2024 and beyond?
That's exactly right. And I can tell you, when we came in, I can tell you I was somewhat naive. I come from a football background. My family's football. We played it at some of the top levels. And so when I was saying, okay, you got to have contracts, and this is what the contracts need to say, this business is so much more than that. And so when we look at the X's and O's, and of course I've run other business, both large and small, it got me back into that entrepreneurial spirit. And so the first thing when we started talking to owners, it was not just about your liquidity. For example, the AFL had billionaires running the AFL, and we all know where that ended, in bankruptcy. So just having the money and finances is not the end-all be-all to a successful league. You have to be able to keep up with the times, and you have to be able to be fluid. And that goes back to the be a bamboo, bend but don't break. However, with that being said, having a nest egg and the financial security is one less headache that you don't have to worry about. And so thanks to Trevel's idea and our contacts mutually, we went out to certain large financial institutions, which you will hear coming up very soon, that were able to kind of look at our business model, approve it. And I'm not just talking just anybody. I'm talking some of the world's top business people. And of course, the one thing I really admire about Trevel and even myself, we're not scared to pick up the phone and call anybody. And I can tell you some of the people that we learned our best ideas were people who were at mom and pop shops, your gas station owners, and say, look, this is how I sell this to a customer. And watching fans having, just ideas, because there's some fans who have been through the start in 1987 in the fall and then coming back in 2005. And I'm just blown away how much information that they actually had that was accurate in order to analyze the sustainable business. So we were able to kind of get financial institutions that would back our league and then have kind of a nest egg where the league will ensure that no team is falling short, because I think what I understood the business models of the past to be more like a co-op business model. And if you're familiar with co-op, real estate, is that everybody who has an apartment or whatever in that real estate will own a 1/10 or 1/16 or however they slice the pie of that organization or that unit. If one person in apartment 1B doesn't pay their rent, then their inequity gets shifted to everybody else. Well, everybody else has to dig in their pocket and pay a little bit more. Well, the person in 1D, was on a very strict budget for whatever reason. Now he has to go over that budget. Well, guess what happens to 1B and 1D? Now you have 2 out of the 16 that are under. And that domino effect just keeps on going. And then you have some people who are really successful who says, look, that's not my problem. I'm not paying for it. So I'm literally going to take my ball and start another league. And so we want to try to avoid all that where our teams had to necessarily be their brother's keeper. And so if any team starts to fall backwards, it's going to be the league that's going to come in and have a specific relationship with that team to make sure that they're financially supported.
Have you guys finalized the playoff locations yet? Are we still possibly considering having these teams be able to have playoff games at home?
Right now, we're looking for playoff locations, and here's the method to the madness with the playoff location, and that's a very good question. So the first method is, number one, as we're starting to grow, we're able to test markets, to a certain extent, and so that was kind of one of the method to the madness, and then quite frankly, you have Orlando with a 20,000 seater. Minnesota is going to be in a 20,000 seater, and you have some other ones that will be these large arenas. But other arenas are 5,000, and some of them are not that. And so, in order to not have one owner always benefit from having a playoff location, this is an opportunity where we can do some destination. And then plus, from a business model, when I anticipate where we get this brand equity where we want it to go, I hope that cities in certain areas will start bidding for us to come in. And so the playoff locations for 2024, we actually have 6 that we're talking to. And then as we are talking to our TV partners and our national sponsors that are coming in, then we're all collectively making that decision to make sure it's number one. And this is where, I always tell my team, believe it or not, when I try cases, I kind of draw people. I literally physically do this. When people say they talk in the mirror about what they're going to do before they say, maybe they do, maybe they don't, but I literally draw pictures and I draw out demographics and psychographics of an individual that I'm probably going to plead a case to. So for example, if theoretically one of our fans could be an elderly woman who's widowed, who is close to cancer and needs some inspiration for a game. And that's why she's watching AFL football. So I put these demographics. And where did I get that description? I just recently watched 80 for Brady. so you have that type of fan. Then you have another fan who is the diehard. I've been around. I know football. There's not a day without me wearing a football jersey. And I put that fan on a piece of paper, and so on and so on. And I tell my group is just kind of demographic and psychographically write down who the fan is, and then ask questions to that fan and answer it for them. And see what they would say. Then go to our team owners and say, okay, we know them a little bit more intimately. If we do something like this, what is their reaction going to be? What is their, criticisms and their pros? And then we do it so on and so on. And I always want to start with fan focus first. And so when we're talking about the fan focused area of kind of putting the teams in various locations, number one, it gets us to test the market with the fans. But we're going to provide some opportunities where fans can actually travel with the teams, can be behind the scenes a little bit more than what they've been in the past. And so, there's nothing more like going on a road trip with somebody you really like. And so those type of curated experiences you'll see with these kind of destination playoff locations.
When we spoke to Travell, he mentioned a little bit about the schedule of Philadelphia. You just mentioned the TV partners. Is there any, update as to when we may get the TV schedule, and what exactly is happening with Philadelphia at this moment? Because I know that he said that they were trying to work on the flexibility of the TV partners with the scheduling over there for the home venue. Is there any updates you can provide to us on that front at all at this moment?
Well, the update I can provide that I gave my marching orders to my team to see if we can get that schedule within the next, or schedule out within the next 7 to 10 days. Now, don't criticize me if it doesn't, but that's when I said, hey, we need to get this wrapped up. The one good thing is we already have everything signed, sealed, and delivered with our partners, so I'm not worried about them going away. It really is an amazing juggling match. If you think about this big matrix, and some arenas that we have locations that they have to balance hockey, they have to balance basketball, they have to balance WNBA and so on. And so, when a date that works for us from a media play, that arena may not have it available. And so we have to readjust. And, of course, we want to make sure that our media partners get the bang for their buck with the actual locations that they want to have. And so that's really been kind of a weird matrix. Quite frankly, going to Philadelphia, when you first started that, and I'm going to be a little candid in giving information, there's a lot of arenas who said, we don't want you. We don't want AFL football. And I'm one of those people that if you don't want AFL football now, do not call me later. Because I can tell you, I'm from down south, and my Southern grandmother says I'm well-balanced guy. I got a chip on both shoulders. We will win this game. We will win it because we care about the fans. We care about this sport. I can tell you, the more and more I wake up with the commissioner, I'll show you this. You'll love this. The more and more I wake up with this, the more and more I understand why people love the game. So I even have the shoes to remind me of the special of the special obligations that I have.
Love it.
And I have it in my office. I have it in the bathroom. I'm a former athlete. When Randy Moss says he has his list of DBs that he goes against, or was that Ocho Cinco? I do the same thing with this. So when we're going into certain locations, the arenas kind of gave us for lack of a better pun, the Heisman polls. And some of them we just had to say, you know what? thank you. But when we start my show, Commissioner's Corner, we're going to get into the devil of the details of some of the challenges that we had to get. And I think people are going to be a little disappointed with some of the bad behavior that's been out there, because I've always told people the game is not ours. The game is the fans. It's if anybody at any position at our level thinks about that, they're in the wrong business. Because if I start thinking what's good for me, it's not going to be entertainment that people are going to enjoy. And you have to recognize that. And I think good leaders recognize where they're not effective. And I don't think we can be effective if we don't put the fans first. So Philadelphia, they have this arena in a location where there's not many arenas out there, and they have a lot of people tugging at that arena. And that's been a tough situation. Now, listening to the fans, that's one team I'm bringing back. Me and Travell said we are bringing back Philadelphia Soul. We don't care what we have to do, and I think we accomplished that. And so, navigating them having home games and doing some away games has been a challenge, with the schedule. And that's been kind of the delay. I'll tell you the other delay, and we can get into this. We've had other people who are with other leagues actually contact our arenas and tell them that we are not for real. They've also told them that we're bankrupt. They told them that we were criminals. They've told them that. Now, what's interesting is that, Travell's the numbers guy and that guy. I'm not. I take that type of bad behavior very seriously, and we will not sit idle from that, because again, my job in this position, I think, as an attorney, and use another pun, I feel like I'm a lead blocker for my fans. And if I say a team is going to be in this location and you call the arena and scare them away, you're not doing it to me. You're not doing it to the team owner necessarily. You're doing it for the fans. And I'm going to protect them, number one. And it's kind of one of those things like, hey, and I'll make a charge to these individuals. If you did do it, just raise your hand and say, hey, guys, we did this to the AFL. I'm the one who did it, and apologize. I'll accept your apology, and you can come to the games and enjoy it. But we're not the one. I'm not going to let that die slowly, because there are things called anti-competitive practices and antitrust violations, which are very, very legal. And the Department of Justice takes that very, very seriously. Because the number two person that I have to protect, I have to always protect our owners. And so when the fans, say, hey, are these owners going to be financially fit to run these teams? Well, it's difficult when you have other people talking to arenas. Now this team who set aside a budget and was going to ready to sign a contract with that arena, now they have to, number one, spend more money looking for another arena. They may have to pay more money for another arena, and that cuts into the business bottom line. And so that's why I can't let that bad behavior sit, and I won't do it. Now, I'm the first one to be the most competitive person, but I think where we compete, and this is what's so great about this country, is that the best man may lose. Everybody has a right to be successful. Everybody has a right to fail. And that includes us too. But with that being said, Philadelphia is coming back. We're very close to kind of finalizing their last location. Again, my marching orders were at the end of this week. I want to get that schedule out. I want to get people are so excited to buy tickets, and that's something that is so encouraging for us. You'll see me. You'll see me at every game. So that's something I want to get out this by the end of next week. So.
Absolutely. Listening to what you were just saying, a question comes to mind. And again, please don't get offended by what I'm about to ask. But why speak on the locations if they're not set in stone quite yet?
Well, they were setting stone in some locations, and this goes back to the bad behavior. Some arenas just, when we first, I'll give you like a little insight and kind of tease you guys a little bit when we do the commissioner's corner. When we were trying to do certain locations, and I respect some arenas said, "Hey, we had indoor football here. They didn't pay their bills. You're not going to be in this location." I said, well, with all due respect, it wasn't us. It couldn't have been us because we're just starting back. And they just said, look, you're just not going to be in this location. And I, literally shook their hands. I said, okay, we'll let your fans know that you made the decision for them not to have a team in this particular market. Then there were, to your question, there were some locations where we were locked and loaded to either sign the agreement or had something signed. And then we get a call that, hey, somebody else has taken this spot because you're a new company, or we heard that this happened to the Arena Football League, and just nefarious statements. And they said, you're just not the right fit for us. And so we have the right to pull the contract. That's happened in more than one location. And so it's very, I think it's been difficult for us to kind of absorb. Why would anybody care to go to that extent to really hurt us? Because, at the end of the day, again, this is just not for us, it's for the fans, but it has happened. Now, with that being said, we learned very quickly that we do have to be a bamboo bend, but don't break. We have to just change the location. And the bigger commitment that we made, we said that we're going to start this season with 16 teams, and we did. And that's what we're going to do. And that was more focused for the fans. Because I can tell you, there's been many times where Travell and I, who we enjoy smoking cigars, we would sit down and we looked into each other's eyes and we said, what the hell did we get ourselves into? But we look at some of the great comments too, where people are saying, thank you for bringing it back. I remember going, and I've received this comment from several different people. And when I say several people, I'm talking about hundreds of people. I used to go to the games with my father, who's no longer around, and he used to wear these. And, I lost my father about 3 years ago, and that resonates with me. We used to watch baseball in Texas, not on TV, but sitting on the porch with a radio. It's hard for me to watch baseball on TV because it's nostalgic to listen to the radio. And so, when AFL means that so much, where the culture of the AFL is part of your life, that is what really keeps Travell and I going. And, despite people, interfering with the business operations and that, we're still here. And so I think that should be encouraging for a lot of fans, and probably discouraging for people who don't want to see our successes, that we're not going anywhere.
Right. Can you discuss the key factors that influence the decision to relaunch the AFL, and what makes this the right time for a comeback?
Yeah, great question. Let's see if I can answer that. Travell had a great relationship with Darren Arbett, who is a legendary coach in his own right in the Arena Football League. I've also knew Darren Arbett through Travell, and we had a lasting friendship. Right around 2021, Darren Arbett and John Fry, if you remember his name from Fry Electronics, who used to own the Sabercats, those two individuals just kind of talked us into kind of lending our support and contacts. And one thing led to another. When they first asked me to be commissioner, I said no. My practice was going well. I was loving the law. I was always in sports. And if you look at some of my cases, some from the Kardashian divorce to, representing Robert Herjavec and his situation, I've always taken on the high profile, tough things to do. And after just talking to Darren Arbett and John Fry, and doing my own research with the Arena Football League, I thought this was be a good fit for me, and I would do anything with Travell. And this was kind of the perfect opportunity for us to connect each other. If people look at my background, I've been asked to throw my name in the hat to be the athletic director of universities. It just wasn't a good time for that. Some of my contacts and mentors is Kevin Warren, who is the commissioner of the Big Ten, and now he's the president of the Chicago Bears. So a lot of the things that Travell and I have been able to accomplish, we are very lucky and blessed to be able to be one phone call away from some of the top people. So when we talk about NFL and that, I get on the phone with Troy Vincent, who's the senior vice president over there of the NFL, and Roger Goodell's, right-hand person. So these are people that really have encouraged us to really take this leap of faith and enjoy it as we're going. So I think that's why we got here. And as far as the timing, what I saw when the AFL came in 1987, kind of went for those 30 years, and it came back in 2005, went to 2019 or somewhere around that time. And when you see the people still wearing and still having that identity with arena football, there's nothing like being the first that started it, and having those three letters, AFL, and then with flag football and what they're doing with football in the school down to the youth, I really think the opportunity could not have presented itself as a better time. And like I say, I never use the words bankruptcy. I never use the word that the AFL died or anything. I think it just went into hibernation. And if it wasn't us, I hope it was somebody else that may have been smarter than us to bring it back. But regardless of that, we're here. We're not going anywhere. And I am so excited for that into April.
Yes. Any more questions, guys?
Am I lagging? I'm sorry. No, I was lagging, I think. Okay, good. I'm good now. Sorry, Commissioner. I just had one. I just want to say one other thing, because I only have one other question in this situation. As far as everything that's going on, you talked a little bit about the negativity as far as from other leagues are concerned since you've come in. Has there been any positive relations that you've been building with other leagues that could lead to something down the road that obviously that's long-term vision, but is there anything along those lines that you guys have kind of started building relationships with other leagues because they've actually been open and receptive to you coming back?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with you, the first that I would mention is the Central Indoor Football League. I think we were able to provide something that they were interested in, more of a bigger platform, more or less of seeing like they're the little brother. We're certainly, I want to fill that Midwest, and we're going to bring in St. Louis as another team. It's a great market. So this gives us an opportunity to really kind of grow in that area. And that's a league with Mike McCoy, who's been around in a variety of leagues as a commissioner, an owner, and a coach. And he's been a great resource. Things behind the scene that people have not seen is that, we have a 155-page operating manual. And to write that from scratch without having the institutional knowledge is impossible. And so Mike McCoy, Darren Arbed, and others have come in and really have kind of helped us shape. So CIF, I would say, was one. We've had some great conversation with other teams that I think the timing of them returning to the AFL just wasn't right for them. And there's other things like fees that they have to pay to leave, and you name it. But with that being said, I really think, there's this marketing, kind of story that they say, if you have a Coca-Cola machine in a certain area. And if a customer goes to buy the Coke, their option is to buy Coke or not buy a Coke at all. And that's a 50-50 chance of making a profit. However, if you have a Pepsi machine next to the Coke machine, now the customer has options. Now his option is, do I buy Coke or do I buy Pepsi? And when they did that, those locations saw 100% increase in their sales just by having the competition there. And so I think, when we start playing, I think it's going to bring more eyes to indoor football and arena football that I think people don't realize is going to be a benefit. So I hope to really merge with those other teams. Shake hands with commissioners. I would like to have other commissioners on my show because I really think this sport is. It's a widely accepted, loved sport, but I really think the youth and foreigners and other people, when they get exposed to this, I don't think they're going anywhere. I think they're really going to love it, and that is going to put us into the top 5 where I want to be of the most watched professional sport in the country. You look at pickleball. See how fast that this sport came out of nowhere. And, it has a lot of residue of tennis. So, why shouldn't indoor football be able to do that at a larger level? And to a certain extent, I think we have, for a game that has started in 1987, for us to be in this situation using technology, for us to be, broadcasting games, not nationally, but internationally. And then, you have a crazy commissioner like me that wants to put it on virtual reality, we look 60 years from now, I want to play a game on the moon. Let's do it. So, I always say bigger and better.
Man, talk about some lofty goals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hold on, Sam. I just want to say something real quick, Commissioner. I have got to head off here a little earlier than I anticipated. My wife had surgery on Tuesday, so I just wanted to say thank you again for having me, and thank you for taking time out. I fully appreciate you, and we're definitely going to be rooting for you from here on out. Obviously, you have fans here at Shady Sports, and we're looking forward to the 2024 season for sure.
Thank you. You have my blessings, and thank you for having me. Anytime, give me a call. I'd love to be back.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one, Michael. All right. Well, just because Michael's not done doesn't mean the rest of us are. Let me get the cameras rearranged here a little bit.
No, this is where the hard questions come.
Oh, no, not at all. I honestly thought I already asked my toughest question. So I did want to ask one question is how did you guys ultimately determine the 700,000 maximum salary cap number?
Yeah. So what we wanted to do, and you got to remember, and when I was talking about, the people that we put first and thinking about it, I left out an important person. That's the players and coaches. And, here I come from I'm a former player myself. My brother played at the University of Minnesota. My son's playing D1. So it's hard for us to not think player first. And that's from lifestyle, where it deals with salary and protection when it deals with medical. I wanted to be in a situation where our players felt that they were worth what they were playing. And so we decided, for this first year to have a minimum per game of $1,000. Now, with that being said, we also needed to balance, out of control salaries, and we need to make sure the playing field, if certain owners could, go get a $10 million line of credit and then pay their, players $1 million a year, we wanted to make it fair for all teams. And so that's where the kind of salary cap came in. And we were talking about, where do we sit, from a roster? So we had to play with the roster. So we went with kind of the traditional, 24 maximum, and there's going to be inactive players on that. And then there's going to be the active players that play. And then we wanted to be able to have teams to be able to float a quarterback very easily. So we had to make room for that. But I do anticipate, and I hope that as we get more financially successful and successful as an organization, that we'll be able to increase the salary cap and player salary. I mean, right now, Orlando signed Matt Elam. And if people don't know who Matt Elam is, his brother played, 6-7 years with the Dallas Cowboys, and Matt Elam played several years with Baltimore Ravens, and I think over their Super Bowl years. And so we're signing really talented guys, and these are just not the big markets. When you look at even Montana, Billings, Montana, they signed a kid who is 6'8". Offensive lineman that played for University of Alabama, and so it really is a juggle and very strategic to not look like we are just a filter program for the National Football League. Now, I think we're going to have a lot of talent going up 25%, and maybe 25% of those players are going to choose the Arena Football League. But I think they're choosing this league because they're respecting the fact that we want to put positive, really good product on the field that they enjoy. And I do think there are going to be some players to say, you know what, even though I can make big salaries at the NFL, arena football is for me, and this is where I want to play. And of course, you're going to find some guys who say, I need to be here at arena football to really test some of my skills. I mean, if you're a quarterback that wanted to really work on your quick, short throws, arena football is where you're going to develop very quickly. If you're a receiver that needs to work over the middle and really have that burst of speed and catch those, 40, 30, 40, 50-yard catches, arena football is for you. If you are a player who is a defensive lineman but really want to put on some weight and may be a guard on the other side of the field, arena football is for you. So it really is a good complement no matter where you want to go. And while other leagues start struggling about their viability, I think we're starting to see coaches and players alike saying that arena football is going to be their chosen spring sport to play.
Love it. What are some key milestones or events that fans should look forward to in the upcoming months or as we head into this next AFL season?
Yeah, great question. Number one, we will be announcing our media partner soon. The schedule will be coming out. We are going to have an apparel partner, which I think people are just going to be like, oh my gosh, okay, now we've made it, open up the pearly gates. This is for real. And so I'm excited for that to come out. And then we got to really explain how the sports betting is going to go. That's something that is very important to me and very serious that we maintain. And then, I think all the arenas will get played out. Other announcements that are big that will be coming out is we want fans to kind of tune in to my show where we're going to talk about arena football, kind of like we're doing now, but also, talk about emerging life, faith and football into this. One of my things that I'm really passionate about, what people don't know about me, they ask questions about the work comp and all that kind of stuff. Believe it or not, I was one of the many attorneys that sued those cases out. There were a lot of attorneys on the concussion cases, but so I know that world very intimately, and I think football and just the sport has done a great job of understanding how to deal with that. I mean, we don't see the concussions as it is, and you certainly don't see the effects. Now we're still cleaning up some of the past that you hear about of some of the 70s and 80 players having CTE issues, but I don't think you're going to hear those same stories 20, 30 years from now because we really kind of stopped it and got better. Now, what I'm interested in with our medical staff, and this is what the Arena Football League did, we hired personally a risk management person, and our risk management person that comes in goes around every team, make sure their workers' compensation compensation is set up. There's really, what people don't understand, there's really only two ways you can go. You can go to a larger insurance company that's available for a resource. They're really, really, really expensive. Or you can go to the state fund, which is available and it's a little cheaper, but it's that mandatory obligation for workers' comp. So we have somebody that's helping balancing that type of workers' comp issue for our teams. And that's somebody that our teams can go to as a resource 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, throughout the year, even off season. What that person also is charged to do is making sure that each one of our locations has the top medical facilities, the top doctors, the top trainers, the top massage therapists, the top sports performance. Now, thankfully, we have somebody that really knows that world very well in Travell Gaines, but that goes back to the teams and really back to our players to make sure that they know that we're taking care of them. Now, where I start thinking big is if we have all these institutional resources, now I want to make sure that we control concussions, but I also want to make sure that we figure out why athletes are having heart attacks on the field. I want to think bigger. Why are athletes, getting fatigued or something like that? Let's take that data and let's use it to always stay 1 or 2 years ahead of what athletes will be facing as we move forward through this. And that's about making the sport safer. The other thing that I want to do, I want to make sure that at the AFL level that we get out to the community, where it be youth football, youth contact football, high schools, that we're teaching them, how to implement positive techniques. I also want to make sure that when we're doing that, we speak to not just the dads, but also the moms who are telling their sons that, hey, maybe you should play soccer, because the misconception of it all is that football has the highest rate of concussions. That's not necessarily statistically true. Soccer has a high level of concussions as well. And so, we need to make sure that we're talking and being the ambassadors of football at the levels for youth, for high school, and also to the parents, of saying this is how you implement player safety at 100% of the time. So that's something that I really want to push as an agenda to the point where we're going to, when we're ready, going to have a medical committee, and their job is just talk through these issues and report to me probably on a monthly basis on what's happening. So that's how seriously we're taking the workers' comp and the protection issues.
Commissioner, thank you for your time. Appreciate this so much. I want to get to some of these fan questions that we have. Charles Laverty, he wants to know, Commissioner, do you envision having an AF2, like a minor league division?
That's a great question. Now, this is how I would answer that. We will have what you call a developmental league in some sort of capacity. What I don't want it to have is to be named as AFL2 and AFL1, because I think there's this term called product cannibalism that sometimes the consumers get confused. And if we have the AFL at this level and AFL2, it's hard to make sure that both get their equal consumption. But with that being said, we do want, think about this college transfer portal. Think about how many kids are stuck in the transfer portal and may not ever get to another college. Some of those kids, we can just say it candidly, may or may not want to go back to school. And so we're dealing with where those guys can actually come to, let's call it AFL2, get developed, get into an organization where they can get a family environment. Because one thing that I got from team, I don't think I would be an attorney. I don't think I would be a commissioner. I don't think I would be a man or a father that I am without the sport of football. That's where all the issues that happen out of sport, out in the world, get left at the door. I don't care if it's race. I don't care if it's anything else. I loved my football experience with the University of Minnesota and other teams I've been in. So with that, I really think the developmental league, and we'll call it AFL2 for now, we are in the works of building something. I just don't think we'll call it AFL2.
Okay, we got another question here. Do you have anything new to report with regard to the new markets, in particular St. Louis, that are planned for the 2025 season?
Yep, I don't know if there's anything new other than what Mr. Gaines has reported in his last, but we have actively started looking for owners in that market, have secured owners for many of them. The St. Louis market, I can tell you, has the arena ready to go. So we're securing the arena. So what you will be seeing as the season goes on, we will be introducing the owners and introducing those teams for 2025. And I think, when like this year we made a slow rollout, I really want to make sure those teams are fully fledged and incorporated with the AFL before the end of the season, because there was a question last time, are we going to have a draft? And the answer is yes. So if they're fully incorporated, fully part of the AFL before the end of the season, then that leads the discussion for them being prepared for the draft and getting their team ready for the offseason. So yeah, and that even includes, getting their identity, their uniform, the owners being announced. This time we'll have a little bit more time to really get all that in play. But yeah, I'm really pleased with where we are with those new market teams.
Awesome. Just going through, just looking at there's a ton of questions coming in.
There are lots.
When is the Nashville coaching staff going to be announced? Any insight on that?
I'm going to be talking to the Nashville team this week. Now they have, if you guys have not already read, Jeff Fisher is really kind of leading that team. I have full faith in him. I do know that they have already started interviewing, and I think they have their full staff ready to go. And I can tell you, for me, I want that staff ready to go and announced before January, because we're 4 months away when it comes January. Maybe a little bit more than 4 months, but not by much. So I want to get that announced. That's going to be my marching orders to Nashville.
Good news. Definitely need to figure out who that is so I can get him on for the interview.
Absolutely.
So should we expect any tweaks or changes to the AFL rule set that we saw in the past?
Yeah, that's a good question. We're going through that. One of the tweaks that we are, I wouldn't say this would be a big tweak, but whether or not we're going to have coaches on the field, that may be a tweak. Not only do we have to, I don't think it disrupted the game at all. I think it was something unique for the AFL. But however, I have to, kind of watch the game from a TV perspective and see what that looks like and talk to coaches and see if it's really a benefit or not. I think technology is just better now where, a lot of our coaches are going to be mic'd up with the sideline gear, and not saying that they weren't in the past, but I think a lot of the teams are going to be able to call the plays right into the ear of the quarterback. So that's going to be a benefit. So whether or not, if they can do that, do we really need coaches on the field? The other tweaks that I can probably discuss now, you guys know we're going to have the nets back, so there's going to be full action there. We're going to do the drop kick, so that's going to be coming back. The 2-pointers are going to be coming back with the kick. So I think it's going to be very similar to the old game. Now, what we're going to do is try to get the game within 2.5 hours. So that's where we want to be from a TV perspective. And so, if we got to tweak it a little bit here and there, but at the same time, we're really, really interested in our concert series for halftime. So I want every halftime in as many locations as we can get to really be a show for the fans, and that show to be eclectic, especially for the environments that they're in. So that's not really a rule tweak, but I can see, how that may, tweak some of the other rules. Other things that we may do, from the coin toss. I know for the first game, I'll probably be out there for the coin toss. I may invite some other league commissioners that threatened our teams that if they play, they're going to sue them for money. So I may put some money on the field and tell them to come get it for their first game. So we're not shying away at all.
Commissioner, do you envision having preseason games in potential markets kind of like the same way you guys are thinking about doing the playoffs?
Yes. And I don't know if we're necessarily going to call it a preseason game necessarily, because what I want to do, the first product that I want people to see is a really clean, fresh, organized, legitimate game. So we're going through that. To answer it succinctly, yes, we're going to have something for the fans so they can see. I would not expect for fans to say, hey, this is my favorite team that, can I come in and do it? It's going to be teams that I select that I know are ready to put it out there, because I want teams to go through and teams that I'm comfortable with that really have the game day operations down. And I can tell you there may be some teams that are just starting, that are just new to the program, owners and stuff. I'm going to make sure every team has a dry run under their belt. And that's where we were talking about my traveling coming in. I'm traveling to every arena to make sure the size of the field is right, make sure the stripes are where they're supposed to be, make sure the dasher pads are safe. And then with that, we literally will go through a script from opening day at 6 o'clock on how quickly they can get the field down, how quickly they can get the goalpost up. And so part of that, I really want some of those preseason dry runs to kind of help me iron out those details.
I like it.
And fans would be invited. So this would not be a private situation.
Gotcha. Awesome. Would you consider call-ups from the IFL, AIF, NAL, or even FCF when it returns?
Absolutely. We have already signed a couple of IFL players. I think there's one player in Louisiana. He was at one time the Defensive Player of the Year for the IFL. So we're already signing a lot of those guys now. But yeah, if there anybody who has the talent that can make the roster, we want to have it in. It's going to be very competitive. Hey, I was one of those guys that tried out for the NFL and got my marching papers pretty early. During that time, the AFL was there, but they weren't paying the salaries that made sense. So I went to law school. And so we really want to make sure that we continue the dreams of a lot of young men who really, quite frankly, just have the talent. And for somebody like me, I was a track guy all through high school. I didn't play football until my sophomore year. I played with a great high school team that ran the ball and just, sit me down on fades. And I had 3 routes. When I got to college, I had to really learn this extensive playbook, and it was somewhat difficult. So I just needed 2 or 3 more years to really just kind of absorb football knowledge. And so we want to be that spot for anybody who wants to be here.
Awesome. I am all out of questions. What you got? Any more left, Sam?
There's still quite a few in the chat here. Do you envision any partnerships with another league in terms of being a developmental league for them, say XFL, USFL, NFL, CFL, any of those leagues?
Absolutely. Those discussions have started with some leagues. They just haven't materialized to really boils down to, whose league is going to be called developmental and who's not. AFL is not a developmental league. We do want one. And we want one that has our rules, because it very is difficult for a player, number one, to be skillful enough to go both ways, and number two, be available to adjust. The outdoor game is very different than the indoor game, and our game is very different than maybe other indoor games. So those discussions have been had. We haven't finalized them. However, whether or not we partner or merge, which we'd be open to, would be the easier. I believe in 2025 we'll have a developmental league ready to go.
Interesting. That's quite the development in just a year's time. But a couple comments that I thought you might get a kick out of. Nice shoes.
Love it.
I love the shoes. Go Black Bears. Definitely huge fan of Chuck Jones up there. He's a very energetic coach. Hard not to root for that guy. Question. Do you envision having sorry, Steve, I already got that one. That's my fault. Do you see anything like OTAs being instituted for the AFL?
Yeah, we do. Quite frankly, my vision, just so, if you guys, I give you a moment for a key in my brain, be careful because you'll trip on a lot of things. But I envision us, if I can explain it like a NASCAR, where the lead car really goes into the front, and you have the trailing car that kind of just falls right behind him. And I think that's, I don't know if that's called a trail wind or whatever, and they can kind of coast. That's what we want to do behind the NFL when it comes to that. They just have a great system with OTAs. They have a great system with waivers. They have a great system in there. And so what I want to do, I want to make sure that we kind of take what they're doing very well and really fingerprint it for the AFL. So yes, I anticipate OTAs.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, I think that's about all we've got for you, Mr. Commissioner. We really appreciate your time. It's been a little over an hour. We appreciate your candor. I honestly thought there was going to be some questions that you didn't want to answer, but you just ran with them. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, if there's a need for more, Sam, you got my number. Stephen, you certainly are welcome to call me anytime. Right now, I literally bleed and live AFL. It's been a blessing, and I want the fans to know that it's really an honor to be in this situation. I know that they certainly didn't have a vote initially for me to be here. They will if I don't do my job, because they'll speak. However, I do want everybody to know that both Travell and I are very, very honored to be in this seat, and we take it very, very seriously, which is the reason why we're fighting to make sure that we give you guys the best product and think outside the box.
Absolutely. So we got one more question that slipped in here at the end. What can you say about your owners, diverse owners, et cetera?
No, that's a great question. That's something that I think has been very pleasurable for us. We have owners that have been business owners in other areas, and so they're taking that action of running small businesses and balancing checkbooks, paying their employees before they pay themselves, that type of thing. Because, some of the horror stories that I've seen where, paying players not to show up from other teams, paying, this to host a trophy, I can guarantee you that will not happen under my watch. It just will not. I have reached out because we're having gambling as part of our league revenue. Everybody's going to be talked to by attorneys from the Department of Justice and everybody to give them the warning. I remember when you had point shaving with the kickers in Northwestern. this is serious stuff. Even there's a question with my wife having the team. I can tell you, if anybody has met my wife, they'll know that I can't tell her to do anything that she doesn't want to do. So you just spend 5 minutes with her. But that's something we took very, very seriously. And what people know or don't know about her, she has been one of the most successful attorneys in Mexico, representing the government, to Caterpillar, to other large companies. When she came to the United States, she opened up a cigar lounge, and she's one of the top 5 women in the country to successfully run that, and got many awards. So she's been in a male-dominated industry before, and thanks to her, we have been able to open up doors to Mexico because she is the first Latina female to actually own a team. And one of the things, and not to get too personal about our lives, I don't have any interest in her team. It's her team. She fails. That's on her. She's successful. That's all her success. Thankfully that through just being in the University of Minnesota kind of atmosphere, she's over time has met Ricky Foggy, who is a legend in himself, and she's really leaning and depending on him for kind of the AFL history. And so, you'll find out that I think she's probably going to be the one owner that is somewhat visible, but not really visible. I'm proud of her. She paid her own money to do it. And quite frankly, one of the reasons that we did when it comes to certain divisions and certain decisions that need to be made at the commissioner level, that's why I instituted 2 deputy commissioners. With Mike McCoy and another one called Matt Hines, who will step in and recuse myself if it needs to come to that. The other thing that we're going to do is that we'll have an infractions committee. I also don't want to be a commissioner who's too punitive, but I also don't want to be a commissioner who's too soft. And so every decision that is made at the commissioner's office, whether it be me or the deputy commissioners, will later get reviewed by infractions committee, which is made up of owners on that committee who would then approve or accept that report. Now, we'll have ultimate veto power, but I really want all the owners and the individuals to know that we're running this with integrity, and that if I make the decision, everybody's part of the decision, and we agree to it and accept it. So I'm so excited about the diverse ownership, not just Mrs. Hutton in Minnesota, even when you look at the Nashville team. We have some great women who are leading that charge. It's a little bit more diverse ownership group, so they're not sole owners. But I think we really opened opportunities, and believe it or not, there is a potential of having a female coach that comes from the NFL and the XFL who may be landing on a coaching position either this year or next year.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I have a feeling I might know who that is.
I didn't give it away yet.
That's okay. So Tim Capper tuning in, as well as the Rapid City Marshals. Thank you guys for tuning in. Tim says, my hope is that the CFL and the AFL have the same great relationship that they've had in the past. It makes a lot of sense with the high motion and whatnot. My hope is also that more of the AFL vets join coaching staffs and even front offices. The more the AFL game can be taught correctly in the historic manner, the more this league will be entertaining. Who is this league looking at for their stats partner? That's a great question.
Yeah, right now we're interviewing, and Tim, I would love for you to throw out some people that you may have. I mean, Tim is just a wealth of information. So we haven't completed the stats partner. We have discussed with some. Right now, we are going to be finalizing our officials. So I've talked to past officials and getting kind of a head official, and I want officials that can cover certain divisions. And then when we get to playoff games, like one conference would be the official of the opposite conference, if that makes any sense. And then the best officiating crew that had the least amount of mistakes will probably be the officiating crew that does the championship game. So there's an incentive for them to get it right as well. To even tell you kind of how we're even thinking as well, and you'll see this after the season, we have some amazing coaches. We're already talking to Mike Honesy, you got Ricky Foggy, you got Cedric, you got a lot of guys that really have this institutional knowledge, Coach Shaw. At the end of the year, I want to help our coaches to do a kind of coaching seminar where people, and I don't care if you have coaching experience to none, where you can come onto a location, maybe a 2-day event, and learn this game, kind of what Tim in the question said. Just learn the game at a level, and I want to give them a certificate. And then what that does, that at least gives the AFL confidence in people to know our game, where when we start the developmental league, all we have to do is look at our database and say, okay, this guy went to our conference, they got a AFL coaching certification, we can plug them in. If a coach leaves or a coach gets promoted somewhere else, we have this database that owners can go to. And then what that does is that makes sure that our secret sauce, our Coca-Cola formula, never gets disturbed. That if I go to one McDonald's, it's going to taste like the same Big Mac. And that's what we want. And we'll do that with coaches. I'm going to do it with officials, and so on and so on. So we really want to make sure that and this is the out of the box thinking. And so I think Tim asked that question. I think that's exactly right. So that's how we're going to incorporate more coaches, more people in the front office, and really kind of spread our tentacles.
I like that a lot. Well, we won't take up any more of your time. It's been almost an hour and a half. That honestly ran a little bit longer than I was expecting, but I appreciate you taking the time for us, Mr. Commissioner. I mean, honestly, it was very exciting to speak with you and get to ask all our questions that we've been burning to ask. I know. So
thank you so much, and I can't wait. I will be disappointed if you're not asking me to come back.
Oh, it'll definitely happen. Don't worry.
And you just have to ask me before you ask Travell, because he will use that against me.
Okay. I can do that. You heard it here first, Mr. Commissioner. You will be on here before Travell comes back.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, everybody who tuned in, thank you so much for taking the time to watch. I mean, there's been a lot of people tuning in, giving your comments, your thoughts. We appreciate everybody keeping it positive in the comments as well. I really like that nobody had any negative to say, so thank you for that as well. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Hit that like button, comment, subscribe. Tune in for the next AFL interviews we have coming up. I should be having the Philadelphia Soul head coach Patrick Pimmel on here shortly, and then I'm sure we'll find out some other great guests to bring on and speak with as well. But yeah, looking forward to the next episode, next announcements from the league, and very excited about all the things to come in the future. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. Thanks, Steve, for being here as well, and looking forward to it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Shady, and thank you, AFL Nation.
Absolutely.
I'm a game changer.